Hello, Shoyan here. I'm a carpenter based in Japan. Today, I'm renovating the entrance floor. I will attach a plank on the kamachi and install new Hinoki cypress knotless floorboards. As you can see, this step has a hole in it. Initially, slats were placed for safety, but I have removed them now and discovered this large hole. Old floorboards are weakened. We call this condition punctured. Like this, each piece of old floorboard has separated one by one. This is caused by moisture or by certain areas being stepped on frequently. People tend to step on the middle instead of the edges. As a result, they gradually come apart. Additionally, the quality of glue at that time was not as good as it is today, so this kind of wear is common. Now I'll start. This time, I'm installing a 15mm Hinoki cypress flooring without removing the old floorboards. I will install a 9mm plywood underlay and cover it with the new floorboards. I hammer the old floorboards from the top to ensure that they are firmly attached to the joists. The new floor can be uneven in some areas if this is not done properly. I make sure to hammer the floor firmly and install the plywood underlay above it. There was an option to remove the old floorboards and install new ones, but the entrance hallway uses a wall called shinkabe. It is plastered and is generally used in a Japanese-style room. Because of this, the baseboard is likely to come off if the old floorboards are removed. The entire wall is not going to be renovated this time, so the only way is to install the new floor on top of the old one. Since there is a slight step between the floorboards and the kamachi, I use an electric planer. When using a solid wood exposed kamachi, the front always sinks as it ages. The front surface is sapwood and it shrinks. The back surface doesn't shrink because it's under the floor. As a result, the front side sinks by about 3mm. I said that I won't remove the old floorboards, but I removed them on the lower step because they're broken. Since the width of the lower step is only 360mm, I will install the floorboards on top of the kamachi. First, I install 9mm plywood underlay in the area. Since it's used as a base, I install it at right angles to the old joists to make it as strong as possible. I also make sure they are joined right above the joist. I use glue when installing the plywood underlay, a larger amount on the front which is tilted downward and also in areas that are likely to warp. Other areas will be secured with many nails, so it's not necessary to apply a lot of glue. If the kamachi is slightly sunk in front, the front side should not be nailed because the plywood underlay can bend. In areas between the joists which are not strong enough, I use screws specialized for plywood panels and screw the middle. The screws will hold the plywood underlay firmly and prevent it from sinking. You can see a big difference.
これの裏やけど、これしにくいな。
No posts are used under the Komachi in the crawl space. The posts are supporting the sleepers, which are lower than the Komachi. If the post had been used to support the Komachi, it wouldn't have sunk so low. I raised the front Komachi as much as possible. It was difficult to fix this warp of decades-old Hinoki cypress with the plastic post's jack.
3mm ぐらいあったかな。
I raised it as much as possible and used glue and wedges to secure it.
あった。OK やな。
聞いたん？
うん。
Now, I attach a plank to the old Komachi. The plank must be attached to the old Komachi, no matter how uneven the wood is. This is at the entrance, so it will certainly stand out. I measure and trace the warp of the old timbers on the sides as well, and cut in a way so that the new plank can be installed easily and attached firmly. I'll do my best. This house is not much older than my house. The width and structure of the entrance are almost the same. The only difference is the baseboard. It only reaches the front of the first step. It's the first time I have seen this style. In my opinion, I think it'd be stylish if the baseboard were installed all the way through towards the window frames. Anyway, it's another carpenter's work which is over 30 years ago. Renovation is all about attaching to the old structure. The parts should be joined properly at the first try. In that case, I always make a model and confirm beforehand if it fits well. The length depends, but this ensures a good fit despite any warping. When cutting plywood with a cutter, never use the square as a guide. This is the most common cause of cutting your hands and injury. The cutter will definitely slide sideways if you apply force when you start cutting. I apologize for saying this while I'm doing it myself. I hope you don't do this way. Now, using the model, I cut the plank that attaches to the Komachi. The size of the joint will be accurate using the model. However, even if both ends are cut accurately, the crucial thing is the length. It'll be a big problem if the length doesn't match, even though both ends fit. The plank to be attached to the Komachi is made of 40mm Hinoki cypress. Hardwood Hinoki cypress is very easy to cut. Unless the handsaw is warped, it can be cut straight if the wood is good quality, like this Hinoki cypress. Why did the guy stumble? Scratching his head. Looks like an orangutan. I regain my composure and measure the length precisely. This type of part can't be removed once you start joining. The wood stops if the length is too long. I just hope it will fit. Since the old days, I was told not to stand behind a person who is hand-planing or behind a horse. As you get tired, your grip weakens and the planer may fly behind you. This applies especially in front of glass. If the hand plane slips, the glass will break. I feel nervous planing in this environment. Now let's install it.
全然見えてないやん。え？降りすぎたな。うまく入ったのにな。なんでそうなったの？お。で OK。
I managed to get the length right. I'm relieved. Maybe I got lucky. The bottom part was easy to screw, but I countersinked the screws on the top. Otherwise, the screw head can get caught and the plywood underlay can come off. I slightly notched the top like this to make the screwing easier. I've raised the Komachi as much as possible with the plastic post, but it's still sinking. Since the floorboard will be attached above the Komachi, it can't be helped, but I need to plane the top of the adjacent floorboard. Renovation needs to adapt to the old structure. I don't think people will notice this tilt, and there is no problem when using. I also installed a plank in the first step, Komachi's front. Since the floorboard is removed on this step, I screw it from the back of the old Komachi. It requires slightly longer screws, 90 millimeters for the top and 120 millimeters for the bottom. I use a clamp which is slightly long. This makes it easier to screw. The screws go in neatly. I finished installing the plywood underlay and the planks for the Komachi. Next time, I will install Hinoki cypress flooring. That's all for today. Thanks for watching.